And her speech title is Where We Meet. Where We Meet, Becky LeBlanc.
Good afternoon, Pops.
Good afternoon.
Where we meet. Where we meet is at the Baha'i Center. How many of you get your morning rituals done on Sunday morning and rush like a mad person to make it to Pops for 2 o'clock? I do it. I have to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to get here because I have a 6-hour drive to make. Now then, how many of you just come in through the door, right there, and into this room, sit down, have the meeting, exit the room, go out the door, and haven't paid attention to the building we're in? Is there anyone in this room who has walked past the door toward the sofas that are sitting over there? Very good. Has anybody walked around to see the wonderful visitor center? Awesome. I have realized, as a Baha'i of 34 years, that did not live in Houston until 3.5 years ago, that I've only been to the Baha'i Center twice before Pops. Why is that? Well, that's because Baha'i communities are set up geographically. We can attend a meeting anywhere that we want, but our community is near to where we live. Well, I live in Northwest Harris County, so my community is called Northwest Harris County Baha'i. I didn't really have a purpose to come to the center except for convention and another meeting that were big meetings with lots of people from all over the place. I started to realize coming to Pops that I have no idea what goes on in this building. I'm a Baha'i, that's pathetic. So I started asking Baha'is like Bill, what do y'all do? You see, most Baha'i communities are so small that we do not have the capacity to have a center. We meet in people's homes. I've had meetings in my home when I'm not gone, but I haven't been a part of a community that had a big enough membership to support a Baha'i center. Now that I'm coming to the center regularly, I'm inspired to come early so I can enjoy the devotions they have at 10:30. Guess what else they have? Yoga. We could do yoga at 8:30 on Sunday morning. Is that cool? Get up, do your yoga. When you're done with your yoga, then you come have your prayer session, then you listen to a lecture, and then you go home and have lunch. Is that cool? Now, I started realizing that I was not paying attention to my environment. I have been to many buildings with Toastmasters, and I couldn't tell you a thing about the building. In fact, if you didn't give me the address, I would never be able to find the building that I was in again because I don't know where I was. The GPS always takes me through downtown Houston. One time it was into a parking lot, through the parking lot, and out the other side. If you think I can get back to where I started, you are completely wrong. Now, did you all know that there's a big mural on the side of the building? How can you miss that? I did. I was so shocked that there was a mural painted on the side of this building that I went through and researched the mural. Did you know that this artist is a local Houston artist? He was born and raised mostly in Mexico. When he was around 14, he found himself in Houston. The research I did didn't tell me how he got to Houston, but it did say that he ended up in Houston. Because Spanish was his native tongue, he found himself in a strange city. in a strange culture, with a strange language. There was communication barriers between him and his peers. His name is Daniel R. Angela. That wasn't an R?
No.
Angela. If I've said it wrong, I apologize. Daniel discovered that he could draw pictures and communicate with his peers. So he began drawing pictures on his notebooks, inside and outside. When he ran out of paper, he drew all over his backpack. Other people who were artistically inspired saw his artwork on his backpack, went up to him and invited him to join their club. In reality, it was a gang of people who did graffiti all over the city of Houston. They met in a warehouse somewhere in downtown Houston, would plan their beautiful art pieces, would sneak out of the warehouse and go do their artwork on the side of trains, on the side of buildings, and on overpasses, ducking in and out of the darkness because they were trying to keep away from the authorities, since what they were doing was officially illegal. Now, as he aged and became an adult, he discovered that he could do his artwork legally and actually get paid for it. He has beautiful murals in China, Italy, Morocco, Peru, Spain, and Turkey. And now also in the United States. If you look, you can see he starts with circles. Then he fills it in with his artwork and he outlines it with beautiful dark black lines. That's intentional to give his artwork the appearance of a stained glass window. Is that wonderful? I really inspire each of you to go outside and look at this beautiful mural on the side of the building. Take some time to get familiar with your environment. Now, we're in the Baha'i Center. Baha'i is a religion. Baha'is believe that there is one God, that we all worship God. We believe that there is one people, that is the human race. We don't believe in segregation and separation. We believe that all humanity belongs. Why did the Baha'is pick Daniel? He has one of his murals at one of the museums downtown. On the sides, he has Spanish saints. The one on the left, I had the computer translate it. Not quite sure it did a good job. So I'm not going to quote that one. But the one on the right, he says, "No human being is illegal." Think about that. No human being is here illegally. That is the Baha'i concept. And his artwork demonstrates the unity of all the religions. I would love for him to explain and tell me all of the symbolic meaning behind the symbols on his mural. I can't quite define it. So Baha'is believe there's one God, we believe there is one people, and we believe that there is one planet, which is the planet Earth. So there should just be one country. You know all the lines that we've drawn on the maps? Are those really there? I drive from Louisiana to Texas every 2 weeks. I drive over a bridge and there's a sign that says entering Texas when I'm going west, and it says entering Louisiana when I'm going, I don't see a line. There's a river down there, but there's no line. Those lines are imaginary lines created by people. They're not really there. We don't need borders. Why do we need borders? We're all people. If we all love each other, if we all treat each other with respect and kindness, there's no need for walls and borders and fences and such, if we all treat each other with respect. Now, If there's one God, then there's one religion. So we have, on the other side of the building, there is a story of how the United States,
Sorry about that.
that's all right, these are the temples around the globe where Baha'is can gather to worship God. And there are 9 doors on each temple. There is one door to open and enter from every single religion. So there are 9 major religions, 9 major prophets, there's minor prophets as well. And at a Baha'i temple, there's a door for every prophet. So if you're Jewish, there's a door. If you're Christian, there's a door. If you come from Islam, there's a door. If you worship the Hindu religion, there's a door for you too. The Baha'is also teach that there is equality of man and woman. The prophet founder Baha'u'llah explains that men and women are created equal, like 2 wings of a bird. If both wings aren't equally developed, the bird can't fly. So think about it. If you have a bird and they have one big wing and one atrophied wing, can that bird fly? Absolutely not. Baha'u'llah says that humanity is just like that bird. If women are not equally developed to men, then the bird of humanity cannot fly, meaning that we cannot ever have world peace. That doesn't mean we're equal. The 2 wings are different. Our right arm and our left arm look the same, but they're mirror images, so they can't do exactly the same thing that the other one does, right? Now, what else goes on in this Baha'i Center? For one, the Baha'i faith has devotionals on Sunday morning. After the devotions, they have a lecturer. That's pretty cool. One of us could be the lecturer. It doesn't have to be a Baha'i who gives the lecture. You just have to speak about the principles that are in line with the oneness of humanity, the equality of men and women, and the erasing of racism. If you want to talk about developing women, you could come and talk about developing women. If you want to talk about race unity, you could give a lecture on race unity. In the Baha'i faith, everyone is included. There is nothing exclusive. What else goes on in this Baha'i Center? Well, I was curious because keep in mind, I'm in a community where we meet in people's houses. There's only so much a few individuals can do. They have the yoga, and once a month they have a vegan raw foods meetup that meets here. Is that cool? They have lectures and workshops year-round, some on race unity that go 4 to 6 weeks at a time. They have workshops for marriage counseling, parenting classes. They have classes upstairs for children's classes, for spiritual growth, pre-youth classes, youth classes, classes for adults. There's meeting rooms upstairs. When the Baha'is have an activity and we get bumped, we could get moved upstairs into one of the meeting rooms. It wouldn't have all the electronic stuff, but we could still do our speeches. I didn't know all that was up there. I hadn't been upstairs. Guess what else is up there? A bookstore. Is that cool? The bookstore is open from 10 to noon on Sundays. Downstairs is a big, wide open rec room type of area. Now, I had been downstairs, but they had tables set up because we were having a big convention. The Baha'i Center provided all the food, so none of us had to go out and find a place to eat. So we all went downstairs and got to eat. And Persian food, oh, let me tell you. Oh my goodness, you can eat some Persian food until you get yourself sick. You sit and eat, visit, have a good jolly time, then we came back upstairs and finished our convention. They also use downstairs for children's recreation. So when the children's classes have an activity like a game or something, they can go downstairs and use that big rec room. The Baha'is of the Houston Baha'i Center are not only servicing themselves, they're servicing the community. As I stated before, the Baha'i faith is all inclusive. Our focus is on developing community. This community is really working hard at it. They have the yoga, they have the vegan, they have all of the workshops that they're doing. They also work with the Interfaith Society. They do Meals on Wheels, and a whole list of other things that are working on. They service our club. At no charge, we get to come in, use their electricity, use their water when we go to the restroom. We're using their beautiful, expensive equipment, and no charge. I found out after I became part of POPS that there used to be another Toastmasters group that was serviced through the Baha'i Center that dissolved. They wanted another one back. They became very excited when we as POPS joined. And some of you already know they're so excited about having POPS that they're creating another Toastmasters club to meet here that can develop and prepare the Toastmasters to move right into our advanced club. Why am I telling you about this building? Because I became aware of moving through the world with my blinders on. You know, when a horse is tied to the cart going through the city, the horses have to have blinders put on them. The blinders are big cups that go around the horse's eyes, so the horse can only see what's directly in front of his nose. I discovered I had on blinders. I'm wondering if maybe any of you have your blinders on too. We are all so extremely busy. We are also extremely focused on getting from point A to point B. We are all working on educating our fellow man with what information we have to share. I'm wanting to take off my blinders. I'm really surprised that as a Baha'i of 34 years, I had no idea what this center was all about. I wanted to share with you what the center's about. When you go over there into the reception area, you can see activities that are going on. There's quotations from the writings on the wall. There's explanations for what is progressive revelation. There are books and pamphlets where you could learn about what is the Baha'i faith, so you would know who is supporting and servicing our POPS Club. I've also been provided by the Baha'is of Houston magazines and books that are the same. The magazine and the book are exactly the same information, they're just different format. Christine is holding them up. Feel free to pick one up and take it. Please feel free to do so. Now, we are all educators. We are each educating other people in our own way with our own information. The Baha'i faith is about education. That is why POPS is allowed to be here, because we're in line with what the Baha'i faith teaches. This is about educating others, improving ourselves, and the diversity of our group is in line with the teachings of the faith. We are absolutely being benefited by the Baha'is of Houston. Getting familiar with our building, getting familiar with what's going on around us is important to educate ourselves about where we're at. And I'm not trying to preach to you. I wanted you to understand that I had no idea what went on in this building until POPS started making me aware of my ignorance. As a Toastmaster now, I intend to find out about who is in the building I'm going to do a contest at. Who is in this building where we're having convention? What is the building utilized for? What goes on in the building? Is it in line with what I believe and what I want to represent? I want to take my blinders off and stop having my focus be so narrow that I miss out on what's to my right and what's to my left. I don't want to miss out on what's over my head and under my feet. I would like all of you to slow down enough that you too can be aware of what is on your right and what is on your left. Instead of just running through that door and into this one and then running right back out, which is what I was doing, let's all slow down and take a look around, especially when we are invited into other buildings. I don't know the names of the buildings. I seriously couldn't find the buildings, especially the one where I took the interstate to get there and I went through the parking lot to get home. I have no idea how the GPS can do that, but it did. I appreciate every one of you sharing all of your information and knowledge. I appreciate you coming, and I appreciate you listening to me tell you that I don't pay attention. Mr. Toastmaster.